Hello, everyone. I am Gary Gonzo with Race First, filling in for Chris at NRN, who is on assignment this week. And welcome to the National Racing Network and Race First co-coverage of Round 8 of the Fall 2022 season of the ESRA IndyCar Series, coming to you from downtown Chicago. Once again, it's time for Roar on the South Shore as the IndyCars will take to this tricky street circuit. Joining me in the booth for expert analysis for tonight's race, he is the reigning and defending Division I champion of the official Fixed Indy Series. Please welcome Mark Murphy. So, Mark, this is quite possibly one of the most challenging street courses on all of the iRacing surface. It is bumpy, it gets narrow at times, there's virtually no runoff if you miss your braking points. How much of tonight will it be the drivers racing the track, or will it be the drivers, or excuse me, how much of it will be the drivers racing each other tonight, or how much will it be the drivers simply just racing the track to survive?
It is all about racing the track to survive tonight, Gary. There are 12 corners on this track. 7 of them are 90-degree right-hand corners. At least 3 of them have, let's say, alternate routes to turn into.
Yes.
There's an L station that if you make a mistake at in one of the corners, you can find yourself in a subway station. There are also escape roads at 12 and 4 that kind of play tricks with you. So who can keep the mistakes to a minimum tonight? That's what I'm going to be watching for. Who's going to be the best on the brakes, right? Not only is this track bumpy and the corners almost exclusively 90 degrees, but with bumpiness comes slickness. With slickness comes sliding around in braking zones. We saw quite a few guys going off and clouding the barriers as they were making the practice laps. Who's going to do the best job at not doing that, because those walls are so close? And then who's going to avoid turning down an access road that is not the racetrack? Because I'll tell you, I ran a few laps earlier this week, and I did park my car in a subway station. So it is possible.
Yes, lots and lots of muscle memory. 5 minutes, 35 seconds left here in provisional qualifying, or actually in qualifying, with your provisional pulser, Christopher Hill, currently shown on screen with a 1:09.6. That's a really good time. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. That's not really too far off what they qualified here in the IIS when we covered their race here. Interesting enough, this will be our 3rd IndyCar race that we've covered at the circuit, Race First, actually. We've covered a race here for the Formula Indy Series, which features, of course, their patented standing start, and then a race here for the official IndyCar iRacing Series Top Split, which features a rolling start. Here are some key stats. So we got about 4 minutes here left, plenty of time to roll off, since we really don't have any track records to speak of here. So the FIS Formula Indy Series, their strength of field was a 23:07. It was a 47-lap race, 18 cars started, 9 cars finished. That's only 50% of the field. 8 cars didn't even make it past the first 10 laps. That was 44% of the field. 10 cars DNF'd. That was 55% of the field. 4 cars finished on the lead lap. 22% of the field. For the IIS, they had an incredible strength of field of a 34:55. It was a 60-lap race, so about 13 laps longer than what the FIS had. 23 cars started, 8 cars finished, 34%. 12 cars didn't even make it past the first 25 laps. That is more than half the field at 52%. 14 cars DNF'd. That is 60%. And once again, 4 cars finished on a lead lap, only 17%. So the 2-race average that we've had here covering races at the Chicago Street Course, which I've now started to call the Chicago Meme Course, because for that reason it's a meme race. Average strength of field at 28.81. Still pretty good, and I haven't taken into any numbers from this field into consideration tonight. The starting field average about 20.5 cars. Average finishers 8.5. Average DNFs 12. Average on the lead lap 4. So we actually, on a related broadcasting note, Race First will tentatively be covering a 4th race at this circuit for the Formula Indy Series on March 14th of 2023 for round 7 of their season 1 of 2023 campaign. So we'll have a chance to add to these numbers very shortly. But the point I'm getting to is, regardless of a race that we've had here with a high strength of field or a medium strength of field, they are having a hard time finishing at this track.
Yeah, and if you look at points, Gary, If you look at points, that's always something that I take into personal consideration. I am not the greatest of road racers, as has probably been pretty well documented. As we see the pace car come out on the track, drivers are starting to load in. But it's a consideration. If you're close on points, do you back it down and take it easy and just stay out of the walls to try to put yourself up into a better points position, right? Who's going to go for it and let it all hang out and throw caution to the wind? Who's going to take a chance on strategy? This race 42 laps long. They're going to be required to change tires at least once, right? So who starts on the blacks? We see some guys on blacks already, some on reds. It's going to be an interesting, it is a shorter field, but it's going to be interesting to see not only the strategic agendas, but also the agendas of each driver and them personally and how they approach this, right? As you said, very easy to crash. I'm not a very good road racer, noted to not be such, but if I could, if I was in this deal and I was up there in the points hunt, might just roll around knowing that half the field isn't going to finish and take 5th or 6th place points here.
And speaking of the points, here is the point situation. Joshua Tucker is your leader with 239 over 214 over Matt Wagner. I do not believe Matt is in the lineup tonight. Christopher Hill, P3 in the standings. He is tied with James Watson, both of them in the lineup tonight. Victor Aldrich coming in the 5th spot, or tied for 4th at the moment. And Christian Jasper. That is your point situation here in the ESRA. Let's start taking a look at today's starting lineup. And we'll get that going here in just a moment. Here we go. And your starting lineup here from Chicago. And here we go. As Christopher Hill on the pole with a 109.3 P2, Joshua Tucker. P3, James Watson. P4, Alex Coates. Victor Aldrich in the 5th spot, and Gary Corley in 6th. Moving on back to row 4 is Brander Iskanian, he is 7th. We do have Mark actually loaded in as a participant, but he is qualified 8th, so actually you're going to get some finishing points here, Mark. But Jason Hand will move up to the 8th spot. He is currently with the 00 in 9th. He'll go up to 8th. Colin Johnson, I believe he is with Race Control. He will not be starting. Jeff Destino, good friend of the program, is back there slotted in 11th, but he will move up as well. And Thaddeus McMurray, 12th, he will move up as well. He is in the 48th. And that is your field. Not a very big one. I think a lot of people were kind of scared away by the possibility of some carnage. And I think what you're talking about earlier is just maybe you just need to survive.
Yeah, and speaking of survival, even though it's only 11 cars on the track, Gary, that first corner, rolling start down into turn 1, it is a 90-degree left-hander, very hard on the brakes, and it does narrow up. So even though you've only got 11 cars, the chance for problems there is pretty large, right? So that's going to be the story, right? Can they all make it through turn 1? And if you're a guy like Thaddeus McMurray, Jeff Destino, if you're one of those guys, do you back it up and say, hey, I'm going to see if 3 or 4 guys clean themselves out here?
Yeah.
Right? Again, all different sorts of agendas start this one. I'm definitely watching the blimp as they turn as they come back toward the home stretch.
They are on East Congress Plaza Drive here, going around the fountain area, or near the fountain area. I'll do this archway. This is turn 9 overall, coming down to turn 10. And then turn 11, they will then turn onto East Jackson Street. Back over the bridge, over the railroad tracks, serving the commuters there of the area. And back down over the bridge, and then a right-hand turn back onto South Columbus Drive. Well, we will get the green flag, and I would suspect that Christopher Hill jumps the start and gets a good lead on everybody. Here we go. Green flag in the air. And we are racing here with the ESRA at Chicago.
As you suspected, Christopher Hill jumps out to a nice lead, and already we've got contact.
We got two cars and
three cars.
And that is a third of the field already.
just as we kind of thought would happen, right? You're always going to have one car that tries it. In this case,
oh, Christopher Hill already into the wall. That sends a lead down to Josh Tucker.
So I was backing up looking at that lap 1 incident. Meanwhile, Christopher, just as can happen here, car gets a little bit undulated under braking. He's coming into a narrow corner, hits the inside wall, shoots him right into the fence, and that's going to be game over for him. Yeah, and that's on cold tires too. So let's see. The lead has now been turned over to the points leader, Josh Tucker. And he has James Watson, who might be partially damaged. I think on that start, he had someone pile into the back of him, so he might be partially damaged. We will see. But Joshua Tucker is your leader. Gary Corley has moved up 3 spots to P3, and he is currently holding down the 3rd spot at the moment. Speaking of cars that are also damaged, Alec Coates appears to be soldiering around with a missing right front wing. You've got Victor Aldrich into the pit lane as well, trying to effect some repair. Christopher Hill still in his car, so I don't know if he's just awaiting a long repair or if he isn't quite given up the ghost, but he is still in the car.
And that was a pretty hard hit, and I saw a lot of parts of his car hanging loose there before he towed on out. So we will see how long that repair is. It's going to be lengthy anyways. But he might be thinking that there are some opportunities for him to pick up some spots. Jason Hand, Victor Aldrich, Alex Coates made stops all on pit road. I think Jason Hand actually started from pit road, which might not have been a bad idea, all things considered. Victor Aldrich P9, Alex Coates P10. Looks like they both came in, dove down, were in the box for about 9 seconds, which is enough time to top back off the tank, get some new tires, and any damage that might have been addressed to their car taken care of at that point. You see now James Watson making his way around the course. He got really close to the wall, coming off of 11 on the 12. Now he's going down the main straight. Looks like Christopher Hill back underway after 2 minutes of repair. He's only a lap down.
And so that's a smart move from him, right? So obviously chasing Tucker in the points, right? Figuring this race may have some attrition to it. Why not go ahead? Even if you're a lap down, he's got a fast car too. There's a lot of variability. There was a pretty high spread, even with only 11 cars. There was a 4-point spread, or 4-second spread, excuse me, qualifying time. So he, in a 42-lap race, may be able to make up a lap on some people as well, assuming no further mistakes, right? And that's going to be the key. I was looking at James's car, James Watson's car. His seems to be okay. I don't see any bruises or bumps on it, and so he's likely set to go. He is also running the black tires, where most of his competitors appear to be on reds.
Yeah, so, actually, the 2 leaders are on the prime tire. Everyone else, with the exception of do we have Colin Johnson in the lineup? Yeah, we do have Colin Johnson in the lineup. Colin Johnson is also on the prime tire, but everyone else currently on the course is on the alternate tire.
Well, and that's what you try to do, right? So, differing agendas. Some guys want to get the primaries out of the way early. Some guys want to get the reds out of the way early, and it depends not only on where you're starting. It also is going to depend on how you see the race playing out.
I tell you what, Christopher Hill is trying to knock down the turn, the wall between turns 4 and 5. He, at least net coated into it, and the car snapped back into place as he was passing James Watson on this lap. This was for track position only. It's not for position. Christopher Hill currently in 11th, shown 1 lap down to the field. Started on the pole, of course, and had an incident there right there at the start. He is now playing catch-up.
Well, as you know, Gary, this the fastest speeds are often found closest to the walls, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And Christopher Hill seems to be having a contest with himself to see how fast or how close he can come to the walls. This is a fairly fast lap, by the way, for a street course, 106 miles an hour. Even speed that lap, I don't think we touched on that, but it is fairly quick for a street course.
Yeah, it is. There we see very bumpy, riding along on Lakeshore Drive with Christopher Hill. Now we're back on to Columbus. This straightaway parallels, or at least perpendiculars, into the main straight there, which is on the other side of that tire barrier. Then a left-hander up over the bridge, over the commuter rail system. Metro, you're kind of from the region up there. You've probably been on these streets yourself firsthand, haven't you?
I most certainly have. That is one of the right-handers there as he took that corner. That's one of those areas, right? Here's another one where you can literally turn down the wrong
way.
I also the first time I drove here went straight right here because I thought that the track was going straight. Your pit entrance is on your right there, but Christopher Hill doing a magnificent job. Even though it looks unsettling from outside the car,
he's the fastest car on the racetrack right now. By a long shot, yeah. I mean, 1:11.5 that time by. The next fastest car was a 1:13. So you might be right. We might be watching Christopher Hill make a march from the rear.
Yeah, I mean, he was a second quicker than Joshua Tucker in qualifying. Now, that's not going to make him up a full lap, right? But over the course of 42 laps, a second a lap, that's 2/3 of a lap. It would certainly vault him well up into the top 3 or 4.
Well, and I forgot to mention at the start of the race, they do have a fast repair, so he has used that fast repair. The time it took him in the pits there was primarily the tow, and he has already made it up to Joshua Tucker. Now, if you're Joshua Tucker, you're leading this thing, you're turning 113s, comfortable laps, you got a comfortable lead, you are the points leader. I just turned a 114 that time, Christopher Hill a 111.5. What do? Do you try to hold him back for as long as possible, or do you simply let him go?
I mean, I tend to be fairly conservative, Gary, as you know.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm leading the points. Mark Murphy would probably pull over and let him go here. But I can see why he wants to hold him up.
That is contact. He did. Well, now it snaps back in. And he's on push to pass, and he's going to take a look to the inside at the end of Columbus Drive here, coming into quarter number 6. And he pulls it off. He is now
a little bit on the rear.
Back on the lead lap.
He is. Now, some people might say, well, why is he so desperate to get back on the lead lap, right? And why would it matter? It's a road course. We're probably not going to see a full course yellow, right?
No.
Every single one of these laps right now for Christopher Hill is a qualifying lap. Every one of them is hammer down 100%. He's not worried about saving tires. He's not worried about anything other than every single lap, the qualifying lap. Because, and the reason I say that is he has made up almost half a lap already on guys like Cullen Johnston, Victor Aldrich, Alex Coates. Those guys are only 40 to 50 seconds up the road. Or those guys are 40 to 50 seconds behind the leader. He's a minute 13 behind the leader, so he's within 30 seconds of them. At this pace, he's going to catch them in 5 or 6 laps. He's lapping 5 seconds a lap quicker than they are.
And we currently have a battle brewing. Not to cut you off, sorry about that. Got a battle brewing here for P3 between Gary Corley and Jeff Destino. They are within 7/10 of one another. Destino running down Corley. Just look like he's kind of picking his spots of where he might make that move.
Yes, he is. The only other real battle on the track for position is Thaddeus McMurray and Jason Hand for 6th and 7th. They're about 20 seconds behind this battle. Just kind of looking on board with Jeff Destino, trying to kind of pick out where you might make that move, right? I kind of like to get on the button if I'm gonna be honest. Coming off the final corner, let's get on the button, make a lunge out of the corner, and try to establish position going into turn 1. But excellent traction from Corley coming off of these corners, and that is both drivers on reds, by the way. They are chasing down James Watson, who is on the primaries.
9 of 42 in the books. Currently watching a battle here for between 3rd and 4th. Gary Corley and my man Jeff Destino is teamed with him in the RIL before, worked with him in the Daredevil series, and he was kind of new to Indy cars at that time. He's come a long way, and he is now looking at a position. Corley taking a bit of a passive defense there. Now he pulls back out.
Just watching Jeff, he's probing for weakness now. A little bit of lock up there on the right front. He's probing for weakness. He's doing one of two things. He's trying to figure out where he's going to pass Gary Corley, but he's also trying to see where he's weakest at. And the last thing he's doing is, especially in an event like this where there's a required tire change and you're on the alternate tires, he's quicker. He might be trying to, kind of something that you might do if it's hard to pass. Certainly it can be hard to pass here.
Yeah.
Pressure on the guy in front of you. These red tires, especially on street courses and especially out of first and second gear corners, are really easy to roast the rears. And so, Gary, I'm sure you've been getting to that, but it's really easy to light the rear tires up, and then you have no grip at all. And it doesn't matter how good you are, because you can't launch off the corner. If you have no rear grip, you're not going anywhere.
Destino looks like Corley had to lock up a little bit, gave a puff of smoke. Destino comes around a corner, sees a puff of smoke, starts taking evasive reaction. Nothing there. Now sneaking into the picture here was going to be, Destino getting a little squirrely under acceleration. Now losing touch with Corley. Now Brandon Ishkanian is working his way into the picture. So 5th looking at 4th here in a moment.
They're all right there in a line. I suspect, I couldn't tell you for certain sure. I suspect that those reds are going to start going away here within the next 10 laps or so. And once they do, that might be your time to make a move here. Preservation of the reds as we see Cullen Johnston pull into pit lane. Fresh tires.
And he is done. That pit out is hairy right there. I mean, you are basically ejected off pit road right there at the tire barriers.
Yes, you are. Not an easy pit exit. Alex Coates slides through one of the corners there.
Yeah, these are teammates right here, Coates and McMurray. I would imagine they would probably give each other a ample amount of room if one's going to make a move on one another.
And they've been running formation more or less the entire race now. One guy who is not their teammate, Victor Aldrich, who was, if we'll recall, he was the speed demon into turn 1 on lap 1. He's pulling up on those guys. He did out-qualify them by a healthy margin. So look for him to try to start making his way up the running order as well. That, of course, did not qualify Alec Coates. 112.3.
Coates, McMurray, Aldrich all together, and then a little bit further up, Corley, Destino, and Ishkanian. So the middle of the top 10 all within contact with one another right now.
Of course. Now, remember, we talked about Christopher Hill on that first lap, right? He was down 1:13 seconds. Just a few laps ago, he's cut that down to 1:02, and he is closing in on the Aldrich
Yeah.
Murray Coates formation here. He should be to him in the next. He should be to him in the.
He's made up 2 spots as well, but that's because of pit stops. But he'll still have to stop. When he probably got repaired, he probably got a new set of tires, and they briefly topped off the tank, so he might be able to go just a tick longer than everyone else. But he's pretty much on the same schedule.
And he's going to be there in the next lap or so, and then once he gets there, right, catching a guy is one thing, passing is another. Aldrich has made his way. I thought maybe he did. He did not. I guess I had the colors of the cars wrong there.
So now he's in a part of the track where you really can't pass. And,
unless the guy gets out of your way,
unless he gets out of your way.
I'm still really impressed that nobody's gone down the subway station there. Hill just continues to knife through the field. He has cut. Tell you how fast he's going, Gary. He's cut over 20 seconds. He's cut over 20 seconds off of Tucker since he came back out on the track.
And he makes his way around Aldrich for position there.
Yeah.
He is on Lakeshore Drive, so we can actually say that these drivers are on LSD this week. And then they hit this little part of Roosevelt back on the South Columbus Drive. And this next... Go ahead.
Can't imagine what this is going to look like when stock cars take to this track. Gary, I really can't.
I can't imagine what I think they're going to have to give more runoff, a lot more runoff for even the stock cars. I believe the stock cars, and here he comes. We're getting ready to turn back on the East Jackson with Hill attacking here. He's going to get the pass. Now back to turn on the South Columbus and the main straight. I believe NASCAR has the first 3 years exclusive here, and that's the Cup Series, I believe, before any other cars can get on this track. That includes, I thought that, and I was learning this from Ryan Eric King, my partner in the RAL broadcast. He's a racing journalist with Jalopnik.com, and he was telling me that I think the first 3 years are exclusive to the Cup Series. I don't think you would see IMSA racing here for at least maybe 4 or 5 into the contract, if that's indeed really what's going on here. But I'm hearing a lot, the average person in Chicago really is not too happy about this because well, you know, and I know, because my wife's from the region. I've been up to Chicago many times. I mean, you're going to close down Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive is a major thoroughfare along the lake there in the Chicago area. You're just going to bind up traffic for a good portion of the city.
I think the thought is, why are we closing downtown when there's a perfectly good racetrack that happens to be owned? It happens to be owned by NASCAR, just right up the road there in Joliet, that has an amazing facility. Chicagoland, although it is a cookie cutter track, one of my favorite tracks to go to. And so what I really wish, and I wish this for almost any racing series, Gary, as we continue to watch Christopher Hill carve his way through the field. Joshua Tucker out to a healthy 22-second lead over James Watson.
Yep.
Gary Corley very firmly ensconced in third, and another 6 seconds back to Brandon Ishkin. So the next car, Hill has gotten by Coates now. The next car on the hit parade is going to be
Ishkanian.
Ishkanian, and that's another 17 seconds off the road. Although Hill much quicker than
that time Hill keeps turning 111s. Ishkanian a 116. So if he's 17 seconds or so up the road, I mean, now it's 5 seconds faster. He'll be there in 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? That's the thing with the points. He's not out. He's not out of winning this race by any margin at that pace, because Joshua Tucker, he's only doing 114s. Now the other thing is, I did notice we've got car in pit road, Jeff Destino.
Jeff, yeah, showing him. Well, he might have had an incident, so he's showing parked and in the pit. Nope, he's down and away. Okay, good. That might be a pit stop. He had a long stop, so it might have been to a tow and to get some damage fixed. But he's back underway.
Him and Thaddeus McMurray both were in the pit lane, I believe. And what I would really wish, and I hope somebody out there does this eventually, and we're gonna see Hill right behind Thaddeus McMurray.
Oh, yep, McMurray gets out of the way. Yeah.
Yep. That's really cool of these drivers. They're getting out of the way of the faster cars. They're getting out of the way. I was watching Tucker a few minutes ago. They're getting out of the way of Josh Tucker. They're getting out of the way of James Watson. They're getting out of the way of Christopher Hill. Not to impede these guys. That's one of the coolest things you can do. One of the nicest things you can do if you are a slower car in one of these. Hold your line, pull over on a straight, let them go, right? Because you don't want to interfere, especially with a guy as fast as Hill. And he is chopping time out of Brandon.
Yeah, he is. 112 that time, but he again is trying to knock down that wall between turns 4 and 5. I see Craig Forsyth checking in chat. Ooh, Chicago. I need to buy this track one day. Looks like fun.
But anyway, my point with the street course and the perfectly good oval racetrack that's rotting away in Joliet is, I wish that IndyCar and NASCAR both, because street racing is immensely popular, Gary. They're fun to go to. If you've never been to St. Pete, I encourage you to go to the street race in St. Pete. It is phenomenally fun, right? It's a great time. That track is actually really walkable because it's all around a park.
Mm-hmm.
A great time. I really wish that in order to promote a street race, the sanctioning bodies would require the street course promoter to promote a neighboring oval too. So IndyCar goes to, well, and not just street course. You go to a successful road circuit, like Road America. George Bruggentheis promote Milwaukee, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have a street race in Detroit. You got to promote one at Michigan.
Yeah.
Maybe even have a combined ticket, right? Something, but we've got to, especially on the IndyCar side, we've got to have more ovals, and we've got to start leveraging these great street races as a way to do it, right? So maybe that's what NASCAR might be the end game here. They're going to promote a street race, bring it to the people, and say, hey, we're going to move this back out to Joliet where it belongs. Come buy a ticket, or they'll have 2 races in Chicago. Maybe that would be great too. Still watching Christopher Hill. I'm amazed at his pace. Still in the 111s. He is now, 8 seconds behind Brandon Ishkanian.
Yeah, we're watching Ishkanian right now, who's not too far behind. Actually, passed Corley. Corley on pit road, so Corley's going to take a scheduled stop here.
Yeah, and it's about that time, right? We're working lap 20, lap 19, lap 20 out of
42. So we're about the halfway point, yeah.
We're halfway, and you're on the reds especially. Those things have got to be about shot.
Alec Coates on pit road, yep.
Really thinking about coming in and getting you some primary tires. Now, if you're on the primaries, like our leader, Joshua Tucker, you're going to stay out as long as possible. And the reason you want to do that, Gary, the longer you stay out on the blacks, less fuel you got to take when you come to get your reds, and the less
lighter
fuel
and faster.
Well, not only that, but it's going to help with tire wear.
Yep. Josh being very, very deliberate on his approach into some of these corners, giving himself lots of room on entrance and exit.
As you would expect a points leader to do, right? He's got everything to lose now. He's got the race under control, controlled, deliberate.
Ishkanian on pit road. Yep, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
He knows all he's got to do is just kind of hold the pace, and he knows, right? If you've ever seen the Denzel Washington movie Flight, He knows the banana boat's coming. He knows the reds are coming. He knows the light fuel's coming. Just don't throw it away as we come up to halfway.
Well, now your top three is Tucker, Watson, and Christopher Hill has moved himself up into the third spot. He is probably due to stop here any time now. There's a car, looks like Jeff Destino, a little deep into turn 2 area, letting other cars pass him as he's trying to come back up to speed. That's among them the leader, Josh Tucker. Josh Tucker also has 2 other cars in front of him. Looks like that of Victor Aldrich, one of them. Another car looks like we saw background off. Not sure who that was.
See a car off. You've got Gary Corley right up there as well. If form holds true here, Victor is just gonna let Tucker get to his rear wing and let him go, and there he goes. And so nice sporting move there from Victor Aldrich. Interested to see how long Joshua Tucker makes these blacks last. Can of course come in anytime on fuel. Interested to see how long he makes it last, and then how long Christopher Hill is going to last too, because he's going to lose a lot of that time he made up. Everybody else has made their scheduled stops, right? He's going to lose a lot of what he gained, and here comes Joshua Tucker on the pit lane, followed by Victor Aldrich.
So making the slow roll down pit road here. We'll see where James Watson pops out here. We see the 39 rounding turn 11. We'll take a peek here at him coming around turn 12. He is coming to pit road. Josh Tucker is down and away. He is on the alternate tire. Victor Aldrich kisses the wall on the way out. Ishkanian in the runoff area of turn 2. Lots of Ishkanian is missing a front wing. Hopefully he can see that.
All sorts of action happening, and he's right in front of the leader.
Right in front of the leader. Yep.
Now I wonder if Joshua Tucker knows that, right? I wonder if he knows that Ishkanian's been in the wall here. Looking at just the entry list, you've got meatball flags on Johnston and Destino again in that wall, though.
Josh just needs to. This is probably costing him time if he was going to make this his in lap, and even if this isn't his in lap, he might just want to dive in now. All right, Ishkanian goes to the inside over the Metra Bridge.
Yeah, we heard Brandon Ishkanian call down to Joshua Tucker and said he's got bad damage, but then he does not take to pit road. Interesting.
Yeah, he might already have his fast repair already used, so he would be coming in and going to have to sit for a repair.
He does not have the meatball. Does not have the meatball flag, so he's good to stay rolling around out there, and maybe he figures why not, right?
Right.
He's still got a position over McMurray, who's the only other car 1 lap down. Aldrich, Ishkanian, and McMurray 1 lap down. Estino, he's 4 laps down, so hey, why not hold on there until you get past, and then if you get past, then you come down and take the extended repair at that point.
I'm showing Destino back on pit road. Also, Jason Hand on pit road. Jason Hand might be done. No, Jason Hand is actually, I think he is done. Cullen Johnson is on pit road with a lengthy repair. I think Jeff Destino is getting a tow again. That's okay. This is just a very tough circuit. Here comes Josh Tucker. He is your leader, completing starting now lap 24 of 42. James Watson, who is in James Watson in the wall, sporting damage, and he is using the runoff road.
Still in the wall.
Collecting a cone, and there goes Christopher Hill up to P2. Watson's going to have to tow, And that is going to hurt one of the key point participants, as they like to say, championship implications. Here comes Brandon Ishkanian sporting damage on pit road. So he might be done. I don't know if he has his fast repair used yet. Nope, he has not. He just snapped back in. He's fast repair. So at least he has made it into the second half of the race before needing to use the fast repair. He is down and away. New tires topped off the tank. He's good to go to the finish. Maybe he can make up some spots on some people as he very gingerly comes out of the pits. So now your leader, and we actually have 4 cars left on the lead lap. We got Tucker, Hill, Coates, who we got there in the 10, and Corley, who just went back on the pit road with a tow, and he's using his fast repair. So now he's down a lap. He's down on the way. New tires, topped off fuel. He's good to go to the distance. But now he drops to 5th. So now we have only 3 cars on the lead lap. Again, very, very similar to the statistics I was saying at the beginning of this race, where not very many cars are going to finish on the lead lap.
No, they are not. And here's the other thing, right? So Christopher Hill now back on pit lane 2. So he is coming to the attention of his mechanics. This will be his final stop. He had made it to within 30 seconds of the leader, Joshua Tucker. He will. I don't know that you lose if he loses a lap from here or not. There does appear to be some discoloration on his right front wing, so he may have clouded the wall again. He's going back to reds. Little bit of delay, so
yeah,
it appears as though maybe he got a piece of the fence. New front wing goes on.
Yeah, he's getting some repairs done. So now that leaves Josh Tucker, who's going to now put him a lap down, and Alex Coates. Those are the last 2 cars on the lead lap. Christopher Hill still sitting and getting repairs done.
But Coates not very far away from going that lap down either. So minutes. If we're running around, if you're Josh Tucker, minute 13, like Coates only about 16 seconds up the road. And Coates, if Tucker's running a minute 13, Coates is running a minute 15, so not too far away from having Joshua Tucker on his own lap here.
If you are just joining us, this is Race First and NRN coverage of the ESRA's IndyCar Series, coming to you from downtown Chicago, where we've completed 26 of a scheduled 42 laps. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next race here on NRN. And I think a lot of these racers now have gone into that mode now where I am no longer racing a race car. I am racing the racetrack.
Yeah, Gary, that's for certain, sure. You know, especially if I'm a guy like Alec Coates. You qualified almost 2 seconds off the pole, right? Second place here would be a victory. Third place for Victor Aldrich would be a huge victory, right? Really, the only person who's going to suffer in the points from this is going to be Christopher Hill, although back on track now, a lap down.
And James Watson a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd look for Hill and Watson to maybe try and charge and see if they can't finish 3rd and 4th here. I think that Coates may be a heavy lift for them, but they can certainly get back to 3rd and 4th. When Johnston's been in the wall there, he's got a right front tire that is not in the greatest of shapes. A lot of guys, they're in an accident, they take that access road there. They kind of stay out of the way. Again, nice sporting move, right? I don't know if they discussed that earlier, but that is an excellent move for them to stay out of the way.
He's going to try to turn that car on the pit road there.
He does make it.
So here's a battle for position. You got Christopher Hill and Corley. Oh, he's all over the rear attenuator of Corley.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Corley's not going to give this up. right? So if they were moving over for Hill earlier, they know he's a lap down. They're not moving over for him now. They're going to make him earn it. Hill does earn it. Corley may have finally decided discretion was the better
part of it. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go through the field real quick while we have some time, so give everyone a little bit of extra TV time. Here's your leader, Joshua Tucker, pretty much led from the outset. He has made his final stop. He is good to go to the end. He is a leader by about a minute over Alex Coates. There is Alex Coates making the turn on the turn 1 onto, this is Bilbo Street. And now on the Lakeshore Drive.
Absolutely. Worth mentioning that Alex Coates is the only other car on the lead lap.
Yep, he's the only car on the lead lap. Victor Aldrich in P3, but he's going to get moved down the P4 as Christopher Hill passes him. So move Christopher Hill onto the bottom step of the podium. Victor Aldrich now 4th. A little bit further back, there's Gary Corley on pit road. He might have a left front that is askew, and he does. He's going to make a stop here, and this is going to be a long stop for repair.
Just went to James Watson and did not pick him up. So
yeah,
is it possible that James has retired from this event?
So showing him in a pit. So yeah, Thaddeus Murray in 6th. James Watson, it looks like he has gone to the pits and has retired. Same thing with Iskanian. Colin Johnson, he is in pit road with a long stop. He is, I believe it looks like he's under a tow at the moment, because I don't show him counting any time in the box yet, so I think he's getting towed. But he is in the 9th spot. Jeff Destino retired in 10th. Jason Hand retired in 11th. So right now, we only have 5 cars operating, and we have about 12 laps to go. Your leader, Joshua Tucker, just very, very carefully making laps around here, giving himself lots. Ooh, he got a little close there to the wall there in between 4 and 5, but keeps it off.
Yeah, and so if I was Joshua Tucker, and of course I'm not, but if I was Joshua Tucker here, I would actually consider, with a lead that has stretched to over a minute now, I might consider coming in and getting a brand new set of reds just as a safety. You've got 11 laps to go. Again, just something he might consider.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. When you started talking about that, I was like, yeah, that's maybe a pit stop. It would be an extra stop, but he has the time to burn if he wants to do something like that.
Yeah, I kind of think about the non-refueling Formula One era, the early 90s. That wasn't uncommon. You could change tires if you wanted to. Most of the times teams didn't, but if they were in a position where the time delta would allow it, absolutely come and get new tires if it doesn't cost you anything. It's a safety, right? It guards against getting a flat. In this case, you're not gonna run these Firestones flat. They're way too good for that. They're not Goodyears. They don't explode, but do lose a lot of grip. It's up a chance to get a dig in on your NASCAR counterparts.
Once again, if you're just joining us, you're watching Race First coverage of Round 8 of the ESRA's IndyCar Series, coming to you from downtown Chicago, where points leader Joshua Tucker is the leader with about now 11 laps to go. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. NRN would appreciate that, so you don't miss out on the next NRN race. Of course, this is Race First coverage, co-coverage with NRN. I want to thank them for allowing us to drive 2 races for them this season, giving us the wheel. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'd like to add in my thanks to you, Gary, and Matt, and the crew at NRN for inviting me to be here. This is a first for me. Commentating on a road course. I got to do it on an oval last Saturday, and that was extremely enjoyable. But this is absolutely a blast too. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Commentating on the oval is a little bit more at home for me as well. But when I cover a series like the FIS, which is all road courses except one, you become more. I'm more adept at talking about road courses than I am certainly about racing on them now. I'm not any better, but I can sure talk about them a whole lot smarter now. Here comes Christopher Hill. He is now past Coates. Coates is down a lap. Christopher Hill is now in second, so Christopher Hill looking to try to unlap himself here. He's not going to have time to run down Joshua Tucker again unless Joshua Tucker has an issue somewhere on this course.
And that may be the strategy, right? Joshua Tucker's certainly not going to let him unlap himself.
No.
However,
here's that move you were talking about.
here comes the safety stop, right? So this is the only chance that Christopher Hill has to win the race, is if he forces Joshua Tucker into a mistake. Joshua Tucker very smartly, in my opinion, decides to pull it off on the pit lane, get himself some fresh tires. There are only 5 cars in the race. He's on his own lap. He's going to come in. He's going to get some fresh he's going to get some fresh stones. It appears to me as though those are fresh reds.
Yep, he's going to reds.
And he's going to come back out now. He's going to have a huge advantage. Yes, he's going to lose half of his lead probably. Still going to have half of a lap lead. Isn't going to be enough time, even at 3 seconds a lap or 2 seconds a lap. There isn't going to be enough time for Christopher Hill to catch him. Now Joshua Tucker is on brand new reds.
Need to slowly bring him up to slowly bring him up to temperature, though. He's not kind of out of the danger woods quite yet. He's at the the high risk point right now until these tires come up to temperature. They should be up. Go ahead.
The good news with reds, though, is they don't take that long.
No, they do not. They should be up at temperature about now.
So he should be good to go, and he's going to have a whole lot of grip, right? My estimation, smart for 2 reasons. One, maximum grip on light fuel. But the other thing is, in the back of my mind, if I'm Joshua Tucker, and again, I'm not, if I was him, I would be subconsciously thinking, well, if Hill gets by me here, right, and starts putting in these laps at 110, as he is certainly capable of, my reds start to go off and I'm running 114s, he maybe could catch me, right? On tires, you also are that much more prone to make a mistake. He's eliminated that now and can very simply cruise home to the win, barring any mistakes.
I think he might have clipped the wall there at turn 7, Christopher Hill. At least we heard contact.
He's been trying to knock that wall down all day long.
He's been trying to knock down a couple of the walls.
And it's been interesting to me to watch. As conservative as Joshua Tucker has been, Joshua Tucker has driven the race almost exactly as I would have done it. Christopher Hill has driven extremely aggressively. There's been a very large contrast in style. Look at how, for example, he goes all the way out to the wall on the front straight, right?
Yeah.
He makes the perfect apex. He's almost clipping the outer walls at the exit of every corner. There's not much room there. And back to Tucker, he's very under control. He's not doing that. He's going slower. He also hasn't had 2 pit stops for damage either, right? So that's the difference right now, is those 2 extra pit stops.
Yep. And if you see on the track map, Tucker just went through turn 1. Now we have Hill going through turn 6. So it's about a half a lap difference. 8 laps to go. Hey, folks, if here's a little something to mark your calendars for something that you'll truly have to see to believe. Join RaceVerse this Monday as the official iRacing IndyCar Fix Series will be at Talladega all next week. That's right, IndyCar pack racing with speeds in excess of 250 miles per hour. Join RaceVerse coverage starting at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time Monday night, so don't miss out on any of the action. Go to youtube.com/RaceVerse, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't be left behind to bear witness on one of the true rarities of any type of racing, Indy cars at Talladega. That's Monday night, 8:15. Actually, it's going to be Monday night, 7:15. I think it's we got a time change coming up. Oh,
one of those
Christopher Hill! Oh, he's taking the runoff road, so he's going to have to slow down. He gave up time.
Looking at his car, I don't see any damage though. It doesn't appear as though he hit anything.
No, he got really close and squirrely, and then dove down the access road there, and rejoined. Missed all of the slowdown barriers there.
You know what? I think he kind of clipped the outside wall, and it shot him loose. Or if you back that up, I think he kind of got just a little bit too close on his entry. Remember we were talking about?
Yep.
Talking about how aggressive he was. He just grazes it. We're talking about Talladega, so I actually went and ran some. Testing laps there. 240 mile an hour lap, average lap by yourself. By yourself. So in the draft, we're anticipating in the draft speeds in excess of 250 miles an hour.
Just looking at the date. Actually, yeah, we will have daylight savings before then. So that's actually going to be 7:15 p.m. Eastern time.
Which actually works out really good for me, because then I can run twice. If you're on Eastern time, that 8:15 race is a must, right? But then, if you don't do so hot, the next biggest split of the week is always the one right after, because a lot of the guys from the Open come over and run.
Yep.
Fortunately, when you're old like me and you got 3 little kids, it gets awfully hard to get out of bed Tuesday morning if you run that 10:15. So
I understand. Yeah, it's like I got Lionheart IndyCar at occasionally runs that Monday night as well. So something that you might have to look forward to next season. But during the, I think we only have like one race in the Lionheart season that is maybe 2 races that early on in the season that cover the daylight savings, and then after that it's get done with Indy fixed really quick and then turn the system over to get ready to race Lionheart immediately following. But 6 laps to go. Joshua Tucker bringing it home. We're looking at now at 5 laps. Still 5 laps. Still, he's there's a lot of risk out there still, even with 5 laps to go.
One of those risks, by the way, is Alex Coates, who is not very far up the road. He is about 4 seconds, maybe a little bit less than that, and he is, Alex Coates, running around in the 114s. He is about 1 second to 2 seconds a lap slower than Joshua Tucker, so Tucker's going to catch him before the end here. Then how much does Alex Coates want to remain on the lead lap, right? It's the question. Christopher Hill ensconced firmly in 2nd place now. What an amazing comeback drive from him after damage twice. Alex Coates still circulating, still on the lead lap. Victor Aldrich and Thaddeus McMurray round out your runners, as does Gary Corley, 6 laps down in 6th. Watson, Ishkanian, Johnston, Destino, and Jason Hand all retired. And then, of course, it is awfully hard for me to race in the booth. We should try that sometime, maybe.
We've done the we've had Nick Sudik actually come up to the booth because he's one of our sometimes Saturday commentators, and we had him come up to the booth, I believe during the IIS Indy 500, which was their 375, I think that's what they turned there for that race. And we had him come up for periods of yellow, but yeah, I think there's too much risk of cursing going on that we're not quite on the delay to beep all that out.
I was gonna say you'd have to have at least a 10-second delay and your hand hovering over the dump button if you were gonna try that for sure. But it would be fun nonetheless sometime to try it. Talladega would actually be an interesting track to do that. It's not physically demanding, and it's not really all that mentally demanding. It's just fast.
I think we'll see a lot of, and typically when we see Indy cars go to the big ovals, Michigan, Fontana, not so much Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a lot more technical big oval than it really leads on. Same thing to a lesser degree with Pocono, but we're really talking Michigan, Fontana, Daytona, Talladega. I have not seen even though there has been one in the Indy fix for the iRacing Super Speedway. And this will be our first time covering an IndyCar race at Talladega coming up. There was the fixed series was at Daytona 2 or 3 seasons ago, but that's kind of opened the door to a lot of the other drivers of other series, specifically NASCAR, saying, hey, I can do that. I can drive an IndyCar and do pack racing. I think those guys, their biggest thing that they need to be prepared for, and if you're listening and you're a NASCAR driver and you think about, hey, I might do this IndyCar thing at Talladega, is you just got to be really, really ready for the closing rates. There are fast closing rates in the next gen car and even in other classes of the NASCAR type car, but you will not experience the closing rates that you will experience in IndyCar and anything else.
Oh, and the other thing, and not to keep talking about Talladega, but the other thing you have to remember too, and this is, I actually wrote a column about it in my social media, is netcode. Right? So you have to take that into consideration as we run around there 3 and 4 wide. The netcode at a place like Daytona or Talladega is absolutely horrendous. As we know, iRacing was built on the building blocks of a NASCAR game, right?
Yep.
And sometimes faster the cars go, the more prone they are to the netcode, and there will be no faster race in the service
right
this year than Indy cars at Talladega. And so that's something that that's going to be in my calculus, is how close do I really want to get to somebody with 166 ping.
Right.
And that is a consideration. The other part that is going to be entering into my head, we see Joshua Tucker working lap 41. The other thing that's going to be in my head going into that race is the NASCAR guys that do come over, because they do come over, and how reliable are they going to be? Are they going to try to bump draft? Right? I actually won my first IndyCar race ever at Daytona. In a race where somebody tried to bump draft in an IndyCar. Right?
Yeah,
you can't.
There's no such thing, and we're a white flag lap here now. It's white flag in the air for Joshua Tucker. I don't think he's going to put the full court press on Alex Coates at the moment. Coates right in front of him there in P3 at the tail end of the lead lap. We're talking.
By the way,
what's that?
Textbook, by the way, intelligent, smart driving by Joshua Tucker. He knows that Coates is slower. He also knows he's a lap down. Basically, He does not need to pressure him at all. Does not need to pressure him. He's got the race won. Just bring it home. Like, no sense in throwing it away on the last lap.
Last time going down Bilbo over the railroad tracks. We're not too far away from one of the major stations downtown for the Metro Rail.
Now we're going past the Millennium Garages.
Yep. Back up over the railroad tracks for the last time, and the last turn back on the Columbus, and we are staring at a checkered flag for Joshua Tucker, your points leader here in the ESRA. Gets another win under his belt by driving what would be considered a safe and very conservative race here at Chicagoland, or not Chicagoland, Chicago Street Circuit. And he gets the win, a very needed win in the championship to help extend his lead. He finished ahead of everybody that's behind him in the points championship, and he just now extends that lead in the championship. Let's take a look at the points real quick while everyone is starting the cool down lap, and then we will get into the final standings here. Here is the final the schedule here coming up. As you see, After Chicago, they go to the improper version of Phoenix. Then they come back to Chicago. They actually go back to Chicagoland, Lime Rock, Richmond, Sebring, and they will close out right around New Year's at Las Vegas. That's the ESRA. If you're interested in joining up on the ESRA, search them up on the league search there on iRacing, and be sure to join their Discord server, and you too can be a part of the ESRA Elite Sim Racing Association IndyCar Series.
And series they have going here, Gary. We now should have everybody across the line.
Yes.
That's McMurray burning. That is McMurray and Alex Coates, the teammates there, burning their tires down.
Well, let's get into the final results here. Josh Tucker, your winner. Christopher Hill with a good comeback, finishing second. Alex Coates, finishing third. That is your podium. Victor Aldrich, very conservative race on his own part, finishes fourth. Thaddeus McMurray finishing fifth. Gary Corley sixth. James Watson seventh. Brandon Ishkadian eighth. Ninth, Cullen Johnston. 10th, Jess Tessino. 11th, Jason Hand. And Mark Murphy will get credit for P12 in points. Hey, that's the easiest 12 points, P12 in points you've done in a long time, isn't it?
Especially on a road course. I probably would have finished there anyway, even if I'd have tried to run.
We will take a look in the interview room really shortly here, as my overlay picks just the right time and wants to lock up. But that's okay. We'll do that, and we'll restart it. Probably won't have the right standings now. We'll see. And let's get into the interview room here. And there we do. We do have the three in there waiting, so we'll bring up Alec Coates. Hey, Alec, we got you here in the booth. Congratulations on the podium. It had to be hair-raising out there. I think just about everybody found some contact with the wall. How much of it tonight was racing your competitor versus racing the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just racing the racetrack, honestly. I mean, I actually couldn't be happier with after I got taken out in turn one, first lap. Pretty much just drove a perfect race in there. I don't think I had really anything else other than a little slide and bobble, but other than that, I mean, I was just trying to get what I could and run a clean race from there on out without a fast repair. So happy with it, and I was never going to be faster than the two guys in front of me. So I couldn't ask for much better.
Hi, Mark, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, really good drive for you, Alec. P3, amazing. As a guy who is not noted for road racing myself, I found this course to be extremely challenging. What would you say was the biggest challenge for you out there today? Was it the bumps? Was it the braking zones? Or was it trying to not turn down into the subway station?
I mean, it's all of that, really. I mean, there's really hard to pinpoint one thing. I mean, if you miss your braking zone at all on a street course, especially this street course, you're going to bend some stuff, and it was extremally bumpy. Track obviously is not built for Indy cars or really any cars, so it'll be interesting to see how it's gonna be interesting to see how NASCAR does here. But no, this was an interesting one for the league, and we'll put it on the list of it was worth a shot, but no.
So not a proponent of coming back here again in the Indy cars. And I got to tell you, though, I do agree with you. I do not think that this track is really designed with Indy cars. I don't even think it's really designed very well for any type of racing in mind. There's no runoff areas. There's a lot of blind corners. I think there's some changes that need to be made. I don't think this is the first scan that we're going to see of this track, and we're probably going to see multiples. But a great race for you. I think that you're probably probably very exhausted and feeling a great deal of accomplishment, finishing on the podium here at Chicago. Survival of the fittest for sure. But I'm sure you have. You're very happy. You got some teammates, sponsors, family, friends that you want to give a shout out to. Go right ahead. You earned it, man. Because I'm willing to bet you're pretty exhausted right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired, and I, for whatever reason, decided to wear a hoodie to do this. So that was a horrendous idea. But yeah, no, I gotta thank the guys at the Area 51 and Dark Horse Leagues. They not many of them were here tonight, but they're always supporting us. They sponsor us sometimes. IndyCar Leagues just kind of all work together on the sim, and TJ for a great run in 5th. He's definitely not really a road course guy, but I think he's finished every one of them this year, and he finished today, and it got him the top 5. So, and he always is making our cars look good with his Thaddy Mac design. So, appreciate him, and I appreciate you guys doing broadcast for us and getting it out to some people.
No problem. Congratulations. Go celebrate. And we will see you, at least the guys at NRN, will see you at the next race coming up here at Phoenix.
See you guys.
Yeah, my pleasure. You have a good night, Alec.
Let's bring up Christopher Hill. Hey, Christopher, we got you here in the booth with myself and Mark Murphy. Hey, it's been a while since I got a chance to talk to you. Not probably a race you really want to remember, but you had a pretty good recovery. Talk about your race and especially that little mishap on the first lap, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a strange one because, you know, I haven't done a crazy amount of practice for tonight, but I mean, I've crashed everywhere but there. You know, it's just the nature of Chicago. It's like you bounce off of every wall, and I don't know what happened there. I know that I was offline, but it was one of these funny things of like, what did I don't know, got distracted thinking about something, doing something, and just completely botched the whole race with that first lap. And for a little bit there, I thought I might have had a chance at getting back, and then I went on blacks, and man, they were just so brutal, and I overshot turn 1, and I mean, it wasn't even really slowing me down, but I got a dang meatball, and I was like, oh man. So then I had to go get another 30 seconds of repairs, and just not my night. But hey, when it's not my night and I finish second, I guess that's not too bad. But yeah. A little disappointed because it should have been a win. Should have been a little better, but oh well.
Hey, go ahead, Mark.
Absolutely. So we were talking about during the broadcast a lot. You had so much more pace than anybody else on the track. Did you think at one point that you were going to be able to claw back and actually go for the win despite the first lap incident in the long tow, or was it all about just getting as much as you could?
I didn't really know how far I was going to get. You know, I was hoping that I could somehow get, you know, get at least onto the podium. And then it wasn't very far in. I want to say it was like 10 laps in, and I actually saw James on my relative like 24 seconds down the road, and I'm like, wow, I caught almost a half a lap already. You know, there's a chance here. So you know, I didn't really think Josh was going to be reachable just because of the size of the gap. It was just too big, and you know, but then it just for a while there, it was actually starting to, you know, towards the end, just coming into the stop, I was like, we're not too far back. If I can keep up like this difference in pace, there might be a chance. But you know, it was one of these things where then I realized I also was going to have to try to one stop it from there too, and so it was a combination of all of that. And yeah, I put myself under too much pressure, and you know, to try to get that position. I mean, I guess I got the best I was going to get anyway, so I can't really beat myself up too much. But it was a little bit of a shame when it's all said and done, you know.
Well, I tell you what, man, don't be ashamed of yourself at all. That was an amazing show to watch. You were definitely worth the price of admission. Yeah. Any shout outs to friends, family, sponsors that you'd like to give this evening?
Well, first I want to congratulate Josh on the win tonight, because I mean, he's, I think, probably the only person who survived intact the whole race, and that's admirable. Definitely got to thank you know, the guys at TWR, Team Watson Racing. I mean, they've been helping me out a bunch with this IndyCar deal, and I've definitely progressed ever since joining the team. towards the direction I want to get. Still got a little ways to go, but hey, we're getting faster and getting the idea of this thing. Always mention Precision Racing Instruction. That's my my coaching business. I mostly do stuff in the real world, but hey, if anyone wants to get tuned up in the sim, we do that too. And so anybody who wants to get a lesson or something like that, you can reach out either through Discord, if you're on a Discord, or Facebook or Instagram, or I don't know, Smoke Signal if you want, and we'll hook up. But and thanks for doing the broadcast. I'll have to watch it back and cry a little bit as I do so.
Well, don't cry too bad. You got a P2. You finished ahead of everybody that you needed to finish ahead of in the points, with the exception of Josh. Mostly mission accomplished, and you did bring it home, which is the other half of the battle. So congratulations. I'm sure you're tired as well. Go ahead and get your rest, and we'll see you, at least the rest of the NRN guys, will see you when they pick up the coverage again next week at Phoenix.
Yeah, sounds good. See you next week.
See you, Chris. Okay, I'm looking at in their Discord server, Colin Johnston, actually, something that you could relate to, Mark, although you didn't, you have a hand injury. It's from outside of the sim. Colin Johnson says he jammed his wrist and pinky on his left hand in the shifter paddle when hitting the wall. So direct drive injuries here at Chicago. I'm sure you feel for him a little bit.
I most certainly do. So I did mine playing softball. For those of you who are avid followers of the sim community, you probably know by now that I'm racing on ovals with my left hand in a pretty heavy wrap and splints and braces, and had to have it surgically put back together. I can't imagine how bad that hurts. Most people don't know this. Gary, you do. And the people that use direct drive wheels, the Moses, the Fanatec's, right, the VRSs of the world, you can hurt yourself doing this. And I certainly hope that he gets to feeling better soon, because that does hurt.
Yep. We just brought up our winner, Josh Tucker, points leader and race winner, into the booth, having a breakout season. Josh, I've seen you come a very long way in these cars, where you were just a beginner. You were a guy in the mid-pack, and now you are leading everything here at the ESRA. Winner today, leader in the points. Coming to the last third of the season. Tell us about your race. Looked like you were driving very controlled. You're racing more of the racetrack than you were the other racers around you, really. You took a very conservative approach, and it seemed like it pays off.
It did. Yeah, I think that was a trick I learned in FIS, funny enough. And, you would know a little bit something about that, right? We were there, a season ago?
Yes. I quoted stats from that race. That was our first race that we covered. Now we're covering for NRN today, but on behalf of Race First, this is the third race we've actually covered here at Chicago Street Circuit. And yeah, if you remember that very first race, that served you pretty well then in this case.
Yeah, it really did. I did my homework, figuring out if the one-stopper was possible. That was definitely my strategy. The choices. Funny enough, the black tire was better on lap 1. If you ran a softer bar setting, I was talking to Hill about this, and he was running 3.2. I was running 2.1. And the black tire was better the first lap, and then obviously, once the reds get up to temp, goodbye.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was pushing him, a little bit. I knew he was going to try to gap me, and he made that little mistake, and I was fortunate enough to get by. But he's taught me so much in the sim, racing with him and RIL and FIS, and giving me coaching sessions, here and there when he can. And I can't thank him enough. It's really cool to be able to race him. It's kind of like beating an idol, So yeah, glad he got back and recovered to P2. But yeah, that FIS race definitely served me well, for sure.
Mark, you got any questions for him?
Yeah. So Joshua, first of all, amazing win. Congratulations. You won not only the race, but you beat the track, right? You didn't hit anything, no damage inflicted to the IR-18, so you should get a medal for that. It's a very difficult track to drive on. The question that I have is, I kind of pointed this out on the broadcast, that you might put in your position when you had Chris behind you, choose to make a safety stop. Can you just kind of talk about what your thought process was in those closing laps with him behind you and why you eventually did duck into pit lane?
Yeah, 2.6 liters per lap was the fuel number, right, to hit right at 21 laps on a stint to get there for a one stopper. After I made my first stop on that stint on the Reds, I was doing 2.3, 2.4. So yeah, it wasn't going to be close on fuel. I was going to be fine. Chris asked me the same question there. It was really, I was just concerned about the tires. It's so easy to give a little bit of throttle input at the wrong time, and the back end comes around and destroys your rear axle, and that's a tow. And now what's that going to do to your race? Like, I had a fast repair, but is that enough time for Chris to get back out in front of me? And it just didn't seem worth it. I knew I had the gap. So again, to play it safe. I'd done everything right at that point. I really, really hated myself just to prove I could do a one stop. It didn't seem like the right decision.
It almost seemed like it. Yeah, I agree with Mark. I was getting ready to say it almost seems like it was the end of the day the right call to make. In fact, Mark was even hinting at it before you turned down pit road. So I think he was even on the somehow on the same wavelength as you sitting there in the car. So congratulations and great call there. I know you got lots of teammates, friends, families, and sponsors that you want to make some shout outs to. So go right ahead. You earned it. Not only just surviving, but you got the win here tonight.
Yeah, no, I want to thank my wife first and foremost. She helps me out a lot. She helped me with the Indy qualifying at CIS, funny enough. And race first, as always. Like, I think I was 3 months into this whole spiel, over a year ago, and you guys were the first ones that I came across, and loved the broadcast and been racing, on that channel ever since. And TWR and Christopher Hill at PRI.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy the win. Enjoy extending your points lead in the championship. Go have a favorite beverage, or you know what, just maybe go get some sleep. You earned it either way. Congratulations, and the guys here at NRN will see you next week at Phoenix.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Mark.
A great job.
All right. Well, we kind of got to we got a part of a double header to hop the virtual copter and then hop the virtual supersonic jet from O'Hare over to Belgium. We got to cover an Indy Pro 2000 race here at 10:15 at Spa. So we kind of got to wrap this up. But your final thoughts here from the Chicago course? It's kind of. We almost kind of expected. We saw what we expected, really, in the grand scheme of things. But we saw those that use their head do the best job here.
It was just as we suspected. Whoever kept it off the walls and out of trouble was going to wind up closer to the front or victorious. Joshua Tucker certainly did that today. He was not the fastest driver, but in this instance, he was definitely the smartest. You have to feel for Christopher Hill. He made a couple of mistakes. He was a rocket. He was worth the price of admission. He definitely made a couple of mistakes that cost him to everybody else who actually brought the car home and finished the race. This track is murderous. Full disclosure to our viewers, Gary tested here a little bit my car into the 120s, like the low 120s. These guys did an amazing job to get down there where they were. I can't imagine Christopher Hill running around in here. He was cutting laps at 109 in practice. What an amazing job to him. Well done to everybody tonight. It was fun. I had a good time with you, Gary. Love to do this again.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. You did a great job. Good luck at Talladega next week. So that's it for tonight. We are Race First. We want to thank everyone at NRN for choosing and trusting us with the wheel once again this week. For everyone watching at home, if you like what you saw here, be sure to hop on over to youtube.com/racefirst and give our channel a subscribe as well. We really would appreciate it. Once again, your podium from downtown Chicago, your winner, Josh Tucker. P2, Christopher Hill, who had probably the longest drive back up to that P2, and Alex Coates finishing third for that podium finish. Chris and the regular NRN crew will be back again next week for round 9 of the ESRA INDYCAR Series fall 2022 season. The series moves to Phoenix, and in the I call it the improper version of Phoenix Raceway. As always, be sure to check YouTube for the correct broadcast time in your area at youtube.com/National Racing Network. Now, as you know, the YouTube algorithm game's not easy, so please support Race First and NRN with the weekly grind. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of tonight's race, and you enjoyed tonight's coverage. Support NRN by smashing a like in the video. Just like that. That's the best way to help them out. And the other way to help them out, if you're new, click subscribe, and while you at it, hit the bell for weekly reminders so I'll miss out on more of NRN's other iRacing programming, and they have a lot of it. Be sure to subscribe. For business inquiries and learn more about RaceFirst and what we do, visit racefirst.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter. Here are all of our Twitter handles at the bottom of the page. We don't have one for Mark, but you can find Mark Murphy on Facebook. Search him up. He has a page there that you can follow his racing exploits on. There's one for Race First, me, and also some of our other broadcasters, Steven and Justin for Monday Night Indy Fixed. So that's it for tonight. So for Mark Murphy, everyone at NRN and at Race First, I'm Gary Gotzo saying all good night, and thanks for watching. And to all of our men and women serving in the military as first responders, Godspeed, God bless, and call safe. Happy birthday, Mom. We miss you. Thanks again. Catch the series again right here on NRN next week in Phoenix for the next race of the ESRA INDYCAR Series. Good night.